steps down, I encourage you to pause this video, copy these steps down, and then hit play again to continue on, okay? All right, so I've got each of these steps down here in the corner so you can see exactly what you're supposed to do. But the first step is we're going to arrange the problem so that the variables are on the left and the constant is on the right. So what that means is I'm going to have to start by adding 27 to both sides. So when I do that, this gives me x squared minus 4x, and this all cancels out, is equal to negative 6 plus 27 is 21. Then I am going to divide both sides by a so that the coefficient of the x squared term is 1. Well, that's already the case here. There's already a 1 here, so I don't need to do that part. Now, you're not always going to have to do that, and I will give you an example where you will have to in a second. All right, the third step, and this is the step that's a little bit tricky and kind of new, is to complete the square by adding b divided by 2 squared to both sides of the equation. So what that means here is I'm going to take my b, and my b is negative 4. So my b is negative 4, so I'm going to say negative 4 over 2 squared. Well, negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. So I'm going to complete the square by adding whatever I got here, which for this particular problem is 4, to both sides. So I'm going to add 4 here, and I'm going to add 4 here. So when I do that, I am left with x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to 25. Then this part, I'm going to factor the variable expression as a perfect square. The variable expression is this part right here. So I want to factor it so that it is a perfect square. And what I mean by that is, this is a perfect square as it is. The square root of 4 is 2. So I know that it's going to be x minus 2 times x minus 2. So again, what we're doing is we're factoring the variable expression as a perfect square. This is a perfect square, and I knew that it was 2 because the square root of 4 is 2. And then I also knew that it was minus because of this minus 4. So I knew I had to have minus 2 to get to minus 4. If it helps you to see that this is a perfect square, this is just equal to x minus 2 squared. So this is all equal to 25. Then it says take the square root of both sides of the equation. So I'm going to take the square root of this side, and I'm going to take the square root of this side. And when I do that, I am left with x minus 2 is equal to 5. But it's plus or minus 5, because remember, 5 squared is 25, as well as negative 5 squared is also 25. So the square root of 25 can be negative 5 as well as positive 5. So to solve this problem, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get that x is equal to plus or minus 5 plus 2. So really, I have two problems going on here, two solutions. I have positive 5 plus 2, and I have negative 5 plus 2. Well, positive 5 plus 2 is 7, and negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. So our solutions to this quadratic function are positive 7 and negative 3. All right, let's try the next example. So we have m squared minus 6m minus 30 is equal to 3. So again, we're going to start off by arranging the problem so that the variables are on the left and the constant is on the right. So I'm going to add 30 to both sides. And when I do that, I am left with m squared minus 6m is equal to positive 27. If needed, I would divide both sides by the coefficient, but that's not the case in here. Then I'm going to complete the square by adding b over 2 squared to both sides. So my b here is negative 6. So negative 6 over 2 squared is going to be negative 3 squared, which is positive 9. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides, which gives me m squared minus 6m plus 9 is equal to 36. Then I'm going to factor the variable expression, and again, because of this 9 right here and the square root of 9 being 3, I know that this is m minus 3 times m minus 3, because that minus 3 and minus 3 gives me the negative 6. If it helps you to write out the factors of 9, and see that it's going to have to be a negative 3 to get you to the negative 6, you can do that as well. But I think with more experience, you'll see how quickly you can do this part right here. So this is going to be m minus 3 squared, and that's equal to 36. So then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So I take the square root of this side and I take the square root of that side. So this gives me m minus 3 is equal to plus or minus 6. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So again, I'm going to end up with two problems here. I'm going to end up with m is equal to, well, I guess I should say it here, m is equal to plus or minus 6 plus 3. So I can have positive 6 plus 3, or I can have negative 6 plus 3. Well, positive 6 plus 3 is 9. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. So our answers are 9 and negative 3. All right, let me give you one more example. We have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. I purposely gave you this one because the coefficient of a is not 1. So we're going to walk through the steps. We're going to arrange the problem so that the variables are on the left and the constants on the right. So I'm going to start by subtracting 9 from both sides. So I get 4x squared plus 12x is equal to negative 9. Then I'm going to divide both sides by my a. So what that means here is I'm going to divide both sides by 4. But remember here, this gets divided by 4 and this gets divided by 4. So this is going to end up being x squared plus 3x is equal to negative 9 over 4, which if you want to write that as a decimal, you can. And then I am going to do I'm going to complete the square by adding b over 2 squared. So our b is 3. So 3 over 2 squared is 9 over 4. So for this one, I end up with x squared plus 3x plus 9 over 4 is equal to 0, because when I add 9 over 4 here, I get 0. And this one's a little bit trickier than you've probably seen, but it still works the same way. I'm going to find the square, and I won't give you any with fractions like this, but the square root of 9/4 is square root of 9 over square root of 4, which is 3/2. So this is going to be x plus 3/2 times x plus 3/2, and that's equal to 0. So I'm then going to take the square root of both sides. So I get x plus 3 over 2 is equal to 0. So therefore x is equal to negative 3 over 2. And this is an example where you only end up with one answer. Okay?